Let's begin the end of OCM at your 11th standard. Let's begin with the last chapter that you have, that is the institutions supporting the small scale industries. Now, basically, what happens is, especially when you are into that small scale segment, you will be finding that there are so many hurdles, there are so many troubles that a business keeps on facing, especially on the financial front and moreover on the non-financial front also. Financial front तो it's very easy to understand कि जो जब तक आपका बिजनेस छोटा होता है, जब तक आपका बिजनेस बहुत ज्यादा ग्रो नहीं हो रहा होता है, तब तक getting the funds, getting public confidence become a basic problem, become a very difficult task. But a business cannot grow big if it is not being trusted at the childhood level, at the base level. And second thing, the second part of that is that when you are talking about the small scale industry in India, there is a huge amount or the large level with which we are working in the small scale. If you do the total overall analysis, you'll be able to understand that today 60% of the business in our country is done at small scale industrial level. Even though the 40% is covered by the large scale, but the number of units in the large scale are limited as compared to the small scale. So there are large number of units which are carrying out the activities and covering 60% of the total business in the country. तो अगर आपको आपकी कंट्री की इकोनॉमी को भी बैलेंस्ड रखना है, अगर आपको आपकी कंट्री की इकोनॉमी को ग्रोथ प्रोस्पेक्ट पे लेके जाना है, if you want that your small scale industry is expected to grow, for all these things you need to support the small scale industry from the financial angle. And at the same time, another problem that the small scale industries have is with reference to their non-financial things in the form of the management skills, in the form of the labor issues. Now, we are not going to talk about that aspect. We are going to talk about the first aspect, that is the institutions which are supporting the small scale industries, the institutions which are supporting these all organizations. How are they doing it? Why they were incorporated? What was their purpose, what were their objectives, and based on that, how are they going to go about, what are the features, what are the facilities that they are providing for the growth and development and support of the small scale industry. This is what we are going to talk about in this chapter of institutions supporting SSIs. SSI basically is the small scale industry. Now let me come first to your text and then we'll directly go on to the PPT that I've made for you. I'll just open that textbook for you. So they say finance is the lifeblood of a business. It is the basic foundation of all kind of economic activities. The success of an organization largely depends on the efficient management of finance. मैंने जो अभी आपको कहा that where the basic problem is there with the small scale industry is primarily on the front of the financing, on the front of the funding. If they get the right kind of funding at the right time, then they'll surely be having the growth prospects. The finance refers to the sources of money for a business. The firms need to finance to start business, to run business effectively, as well as to expand the business. Why? Because आपने बिजनेस चालू कर लिया, आप सेल्फ फंडिंग पे हमेशा टिके हुए रहोगे ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. I'll just give you a very simple example on this. Now, since the time this corona issue has started heating up again, the number of cases have started increasing day by day, and those are increasing in multiples now. Those are not getting added, those are getting multiplied now. So when this is the situation, there was this time, November and December, when it was found that now the market has stabilized and we can just grow now. But suddenly, because of the spike, what has happened? People have started having the fear, they are not coming out, the businesses have slackened like anything. In this situation, the suppliers are pressurizing the retailers, the wholesalers, the manufacturers that we want the funds. हर लेवल पे आप जो रॉ मटेरियल का मैन्युफैक्चरर है वो अपने सप्लाई अपने कस्टमर को बोल रहा है मेरे को पैसा चाहिए. जो मैन्युफैक्चरर ऑफ फिनिश गुड्स है वो अपने कस्टमर को कहता है कि मुझे पैसा चाहिए. जो होलसेलर है वो अपने रिटेलर को बोलता है. रिटेलर इज हेल्पलेस because retailer is not getting the money. So what is happening? The chain is getting broken. In these kind of times, if the banks, the financial institutions or the third parties support the businesses, then in that case they will be able to revive, they will be able to expand, or they will be able to run their business. So what you want, the funding is not required only at the beginning, the funding is required on a continuous basis, sometimes to sustain, sometimes to grow, sometimes to initiate. It is difficult to raise the finance for starting business as it involves a high risk. मैं अब मेरे पास कोई बंदा आता है, वो कहता है सर मैंने एक नया बिजनेस प्लान बनाया है, इट इज अ फैंटास्टिक प्लान. जो बंदा प्लान बना के आता है उसके लिए तो फैंटास्टिक ही होता है. दिक्कत कहाँ होती है? वेदर दैट इज सस्टेनेबल और नॉट. यू आर ट्राइंग टू डू द एनालिसिस ऑफ दैट. Now, in that analysis, if you are not finding the reasonable results, then in that case, you will be required to leave that particular thing, isn't it? So this chapter will basically involve what are the different sources of finance available from the different financial institutes. Now, let me come on to the different financial institutions that we are going to talk about, how they basically support the different SSIs or the different segments of the business. Let me come on to this now. Basically, we have Small Industrial Development Bank of India, that is SIDBI. What this institution does, it provides all kind of fundings to the small scale industries in the form of their seed capital, in the form of their long term capital, in the form of the equity, in the form of capital they invest the money. Of course, we are going to talk about what this SIDBI is, what are its different features that we are going to talk about in the subsequent slides. The National Bank for Agricultural and Rural Development, as the name itself suggests, this is the topmost institution for the purpose of rural funding in our country. आप किसी भी रूरल एरिया में चले जाओ, वहां का मेजर फंडिंग करवाने वाला अगर कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है तो दैट इज नाबार्ड, right? Of course, these institutions, what we are going to talk about, that is SIDBI, or for that matter, uh, NABARD, KVIC, these organizations may not be giving you the funding directly, but they have the schemes laid down which are to be implemented by the different banks and financial institutions, and through that banks and financial institutions they provide us the funding. All right. The next one in that is the Khadi and Village Industries Commission, that is KVIC. Now, this is basically focused on the rural funding which are into their with their self employment. जो आप किसी भी गांव में चले जाओ, उनकी कोई खासियत होती है. And if they are focusing on their khasiyat, if they are focusing on their specialization, in their specialization, what kind of activities that they can do, that is supported by the KVIC, that is Khadi and Village Industries Commission. Then SHG, ये आपने बहुत ज्यादा सुना होगा, आजकल ये सबसे ज्यादा प्रचलित है, that is the self help groups और the महिला बचत गट. एक रूरल एरिया में, एक पर्टिकुलर टाउन में एक particular area, whichever, whether it is rural area or urban area, that doesn't make a difference. The women residing in that area are given the training, the kind of knowledge, the kind of skill set based on which they will be self-employed. They carry out their activities on their own, and based on that, they are able to earn the funding for themselves. So that is SHGs and World Bank. वर्ल्ड बैंक के पास एक अलग से डिपार्टमेंट है विच इज स्पेसिफिकली फोकसिंग ऑन the small scale industries not only in a particular country but all over the world. So these are the various institutions that we are going to focus upon, that we are going to talk about, what these organizations are, what are their basic requirements, how they got incorporated, and we will be talking about the different features, how do they support the organizations, the small scale organizations especially. So let's talk about the very first, SIDBI, what it is, the Small Industrial Development Bank of India, SIDBI. It is basically established in on 2nd of April 1990 under the Special Act which is made by the government in that format, that is SIDBI Act of 1988. ये एक सेपरेट लॉ बनाया गया है जिसके अंतर्गत सिडबी को बनाया गया. ओरिजिनली पहले गवर्नमेंट के पास एक डिपार्टमेंट हुआ करता था, दैट वाज इंडस्ट्रियल डेवलपमेंट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, and SIDBI originally used to work under that particular company, under that particular organization. But now SIDBI is not being owned by only IDBI. ये IDBI जो हम लोग यहाँ बात कर रहे हैं और IDBI बैंक, there is a difference between the two. IDBI, that is Industrial Development Bank of India, this was the public sector organization, a non-banking financial corporation, but IDBI bank is a unit which is separated out of the IDBI only. पहले IDBI कॉन्ग्लोमरेट हुआ करता था, अब IDBI और IDBI बैंक को अलग अलग कर दिया गया है. उसी तरह से गवर्नमेंट की एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन थी which used to be called as HDFC, गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन थी ओरिजिनली, that is Housing Development Corporation, Housing Development and Financial Corporation. That was the organization's name. Later on, that HDFC was further divided into the parts of HDFC and HDFC Bank, and now even HDFC and HDFC Bank is been divided into two parts. It is also been privatized now. It is within the hands of Mr. Yes, it is now private. It has been owned by Mr. Deepak Parekh and Akhil Puri and all that. So they are having the control on that now. Earlier HDFC was into the government's hand. HDFC, जो original bank थी, जो original organization थी, which that was a public sector organization. Even ICICI originally was in the same base. That is Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India. This was the name of that particular organization, ICICI Bank. ये हमारी पूर्वजों की बैंक है, इसलिए इसका पूरा सम्मान करो, ICICI. तो बहुत बड़े हो गए, मतलब सीनियर मोस्ट पूर्वज. So Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India, this was incorporated by government. Government ने इसके bonds issue किए थे और उसके बाद में उसको privatize किया गया. Privatize in a sense, उसमें government ने उसमें जितना भी stake था वो बेच दिया, and now it is owned by the private parties only. Private parties means private organizations. Which is the best bank in India now? HDFC at this point in time, because it is most conservative and the most prominent private bank. Well, anyways, now SIDBI is owned by 34 PSUs, the public sector units, and the HO of it, the head office of that, is located in Lucknow. SIDBI currently has 15 regional offices and 84 branches, and its main focus, primarily, it is interested to focus upon the financing and non-financial needs of the micro, small, and medium enterprises. MSME is micro, small, and medium enterprises, right? I hope this way it is going fine for everyone. I'm going good for everyone. Anyone having any kind of issues on this? कि मैं text के through ही समझाऊं? Like I'll go through the text and will elaborate from there. This is good. In fact, what I've done is I've tried to pick up everything from the text only. I've not tried to put up anything from outside. Why? Because ultimately in the examination, you are supposed to write the words from the text only. So I've picked up everything from the text for you. All right. Now, as MSMEs, that is micro, small and medium enterprises, provide major employment. So it plays a major role in the economy. Even in the current scenario, so you keep the textbook in front of you and you will be finding that the lines which I've been uttering, the lines which I've been covering is all from the textbook. Yes. As MSMEs provide major employment, why MSMEs will provide the major employment? Because MSMEs, the micro, small and medium enterprises, are basically trying to focus upon what? The growth of our country. मैंने कहा 60% of our business is conducted by MSMEs. तो अगर 60% बिजनेस ये कंडक्ट कर रहे हैं, इनके लार्ज नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स हैं, तो हर बंदा अपनी अपनी जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चला रहा है, ही इज गेटिंग सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड. Every person is requiring the employees under him, so he is giving the employment. And that's why it is said that MSMEs provide the major employment in our country. Then SIDBI provides structural support to MSMEs in finance and non-financial activities. Now, what kind of structural support do they give? I'll just try to elaborate on that. Basically, what SIDBI does is they provide you the seed capital. Seed capital means initial capital. And they also provide you the funds, the long-term loans. तो ये आपको financial front पे support करते हैं. And on top of that, SIDBI doesn't finance any and every organization. They first do the analysis of the organization, analysis of that particular unit, and based on that, they do the funding. So they have the financial as well as non-financial consultancies. SIDBI has become MSME friendly as it has taken many efforts towards the MSMEs. There are n number of projects that SIDBI keeps taking on, that SIDBI keeps on taking for the purpose of the for the benefits of the MSMEs in the form of, as I was saying, अब इसमें क्या करते हैं वो लोग subsidized interest loan देते हैं. Subsidized interest loan मतलब क्या? अगर आप बैंक से नॉर्मल लोन लेने जाते हो तो यू आर रिक्वायर्ड टू पे से 10% रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट और 12% रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट. बट सिडबी से जब हम लोग लोन लेते हैं तो दे चार्ज यू ओनली 5% फ्लैट सिंपल इंटरेस्ट, नॉट इवन कंपाउंडेड वन. Then that's why it is said that SIDBI is more MSME friendly. It facilitates and strengthens the credit flows, identifies and fills the financial and development gaps. Wherever you find that there is a financial need to the small scale organization, wherever the government observes that small scale industry is not being supported, then government would bring a plan for that. Like गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत सारे, मतलब करंट गवर्नमेंट हैज ब्रॉट सो मेनी लोन्स एंड फंड्स अंडर विच you are getting the funding, and that is helping a lot to the small scale level industries. Now when I'm talking about small scale industry, I'm not talking about only the manufacturing units. I'm talking about the non manufacturing, that is retail, wholesale, traders. Every kind of business is primarily supported by these small scale these SIDBI. It has
So I
dedicated.
have a doubt, shall I?
Yeah, good.
So there may be the political interference also, like only to give to political people's families like loans like this.
See, it is always there, but remember one thing: whenever you are trying to have the funding from the government institutions, that's why they are not funding it directly. SIDBI kind of organization, NABARD kind of organization, KVIC, they primarily make the policies and systems. And under those policies and systems, the funding is done through the banks. अब जब बैंक से आपको फंडिंग मिलती है तो ऑटोमेटिकली बैंक विल डू देयर ओन एनालिसिस ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल्स एंड नॉन फाइनेंशियल्स, एंड बेस्ड ऑन दैट ओनली दे विल बी डूइंग द फंडिंग. And by that way, this political pressure and all those kind of things are to a certain extent avoided. Not completely, but to a certain extent, I would say those are avoided. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Now, it has dedicated its resources towards the evolution of vibrant ecosystem. How it has dedicated its resources? Vibrant ecosystem means what? Where there is a growth all over. What do you mean by vibrancy? You enter a particular area and you feel good. You go in a particular region and you start feeling, yeah, I'm at a place which is fantastic. That is what you call as vibrancy. Now, if you want to have a vibrant ecosystem, if you want to have a stronger ecosystem, ecosystem is economic system, wherein, see, Ishan has done the Google on it, and he has got the result as SIDBI has approved 6 lakh loans this year, and one of the top lenders were Bajaj Finance and Union Bank. Through these banks and financial institutions is what they are supporting the MSMEs. Huh. So when I'm talking about vibrant ecosystem, that everyone is having some kind of activity, some kind of job, some kind of work on a continuous basis. That is why that is what you are calling as vibrant. मतलब हर बंदा काम में involved है, हर बंदा, कोई भी बंदा आपको ऐसा नहीं दिखेगा जो टाइम पास कर रहा है. So that is what you call as vibrancy. And that vibrancy is brought through this particular funding. क्योंकि small scale level पे जब आप support करना चालू करते हो तो लोग बहुत ज्यादा काम करने लगते हैं. And जब बहुत सारे लोग बहुत ज्यादा काम करेंगे तो हर बंदा अपने आप में happiness feel करेगा. Taken the steps in technological upgradation and modernization of MSMEs, and it expands the channel for marketing of for MSMEs. Now, how do the SIDBI expand the channel of marketing for MSMEs? क्या होता है जब आप MSME के सॉरी जब आप SIDBI के पास जाते हो, SIDBI conducts various exhibitions. SIDBI will conduct various activities by which you will be able to exhibit what you have been doing. You will be able to show how you are carrying out the activities, and based on that, you will be getting the marketing support as well from the Small Industrial Development Bank. Am I going good? Now let me come to the different features of the SIDBI. Now, along with these features, I'll keep reading the text part also. I'll keep reading the text part as well. So you need to have the textbook with you. Now, it is a basic financial institution for promotion of MSMEs, the micro, small and medium enterprises. It is going to have the sustainable development. क्योंकि जब आप स्मॉल स्केल लेवल को सपोर्ट करोगे तो आप लॉन्ग टर्म में अपने इंडस्ट्री को डेवलप करोगे, अपनी कंट्री, अपनी इकोनॉमी को डेवलप करोगे. It provides the advisories to the MSMEs in the form of that they carry out the activities in the form of uh, uh, suggestions to these small scale enterprises, and they tell them that what is good and what is not for them. Then it has the MSME services, various MSME services we are going to talk about. The achievement of national goals, because government want to have the support and growth of these organizations, and therefore it has got the national goals. Different forms of finance and digital initiatives are carried out by MSMEs. As I said, you have to keep the text with you. I'll just come on to the text for the sake of your understanding. If you observe it here, features of SIDBI is what we are talking about. It is a financial institution for promotion of MSMEs. The SIDBI is established to provide short-term and long-term finance of MSMEs. Short-term means wherein you are being funded for your working capital requirement. डे टू डे जो आपको फंड्स लगते हैं उसके सपोर्ट के लिए आपको SIDBI सपोर्ट करती है. And it is a it is a principal institution for micro, small and medium sector units. Please underline this particular line. Principal financial institution for micro, small and medium sector units. It also coordinates the function of institutions engaged in financing MSMEs. Like it's not only SIDBI which is doing the funding for the MSMEs. There are the other organizations. Like if you take the example of NABARD, if you take the example of KVIC, if you take the example of the other organizations, the banks also have the targets of the small scale funding or microfinance funding. They not only carry out the activities by themselves, but they also provide the funding through the others. SIDBI comes under Ministry of MSME of Nitin Gadkari. Nitin Gadkari is now the Road and Transport Minister. He is not the Industries Minister. This particular thing comes under the Industries Minister. No, MSME के co-opted member जिसे कहते हैं हम लोग, वो Minister of State. That is what his status in that. जैसे एन सीतारामन मैडम के साथ में अनुराग ठाकुर है, उसी तरह से it primarily comes under the industries minister only, right? And then within that there is a segmentation of MSME minister, and that is what is headed by Nitin Gadkari. And Nitin Gadkari is आप recently अगर आपने लोकसभा के कन्वर्सेशन सुने होंगे, सुभाष देसाई is for Maharashtra. शिवम, Subhash Desai is the industry minister for Maharashtra, not for the country. If you would have heard the recent conversations which are taking place in Lok Sabha, in which Nitin Gadkari is being prominently highlighted, if you have not yet seen those, I would suggest that you should see those. And there he has tried to bring in that how the MSMEs can be supported, how the MSMEs can be grown in our country, and he has focused on it. He has focused on it in detail. In detail, he's trying to say that if you are supporting them in a proper way, in a reasonable way, then MSMEs can be the next thing that you can focus upon. The MSMEs are the things which can bring the wonders for your country. And that's the factual situation. If the MSMEs, the micro, small and medium enterprises are focused right, then in that case, you will surely be seeing wonders, क्योंकि बहुत ज्यादा एम्प्लॉयमेंट है और बहुत ज्यादा इसमें काम करने वाले लोग हैं. It provides finance to banking and non-banking financial corporation to increase the supply of credit to MSMEs. So if you check it out, as I said earlier also, that these organizations, what we are going to talk about, these are not going to do the funding directly. They do the funding through the banks and the NBFCs. So it provides finance to banking and non-banking financial corporations to increase the supply of credit to MSMEs. ये क्या करते हैं लोग? What SIDBI does? SIDBI basically makes a policy, makes a kind of system कि हमें MSMEs को under Mudra scheme, under CGTMSE, that is central government's guarantee scheme. So if we want to provide the funding to these small scale organizations, to small businesses, for that purpose, how this funding will be done, what level of funding to be done to which kind of organization, उसका बेसिक फीचर क्या होना चाहिए, उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का ओनर कौन होना चाहिए, किस बंदे को आप प्रायोरिटी दोगे, किसको नहीं दोगे, दिस ऑल इज डन बाय सिडबी. और ये रूल सिस्टम बना के सिडबी दे देता है बैंक्स, फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस को. अब मेरे जैसा बंदा जिसको पैसे की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत होती है, दैट पर्सन विल गो टू द बैंक, will ask for funding to the bank, and bank will check if my case fits under that MSME norms, and if it does so, then the bank will provide me the funding. और ये जितना फंडिंग मुझे प्रोवाइड करेंगे उतना फंडिंग सिडबी से लेंगे. फिर सिडबी को बोलेंगे कि तुम्हारी पॉलिसीज, तुम्हारे सिस्टम, तुम्हारे रूल के हिसाब से हमने फंडिंग की है, तो हमको हमारा पैसा दो. They'll get the reimbursement from SIDBI, because ultimately the responsibility of funding was of whom? Of SIDBI. तो आप और मैं डायरेक्टली सिडबी में नहीं जाते हैं, आप और मैं बैंक्स में जाते हैं और बैंक्स गेट द फंडिंग फ्रॉम द ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस लाइक सिडबी. इज द कंसेप्ट क्लियर फॉर एवरीवन नाउ? Now, besides the refinance operation, SIDBI also lends directly to MSMEs जब आप सीड कैपिटल जो मैं आपको पहले कह रहा था जिसमें आपके इक्विटी में इन्वेस्टमेंट होता है, that is basically done by SIDBI. So SIDBI caters to the specific needs of Indian MSMEs that are not fulfilled through the traditional sources of finance, ताकि आप किसी बनिए के हत्थे न लग जाओ, right? SIDBI is working towards the sustainable development of MSMEs in India. It helps MSMEs in creation of economic wealth while preventing the ecological wealth of the country. It promotes the culture of energy efficient and sustainable finance. Now understand what is happening. कि आप आपके देश के रिसोर्सेस आप ही के पास यूज हो और उससे आप ही के देश का डेवलपमेंट हो. If you want something like that, that is what you call a sustainable development. कि आपके लोग आपके ही देश में और बड़े काम करते जा रहे हैं और एक्टिविटीज कैरी ओवर कर रहे हैं एंड बाय दैट वे यू विल बी एबल टू ग्रो योर कंट्री. क्योंकि अगर ते म्हणतात ना पायाभूत जर स्ट्रॉंग असेल, if your foundation is strong enough, then in that case you can grow big, and that's what is expected. So it takes initiatives to enhance awareness of benefit of climate control amongst MSMEs, because you are not supposed to carry out the activities which are having the impact on the global warming or promote. You have to promote only those projects which will not be creating more pollution. And the next part in that is SIDBI's focused lending scheme promote investment in clean production and energy efficient technologies. It helps to reduce emission of greenhouse gases to contribute towards the reduction in pollution. Now, why so? Because you want to have not only the growth but also the sustainable growth. कि आप ऐसे कोई प्रोजेक्ट को फंडिंग नहीं कर रहे हो कि जो आपके ही देश का पोल्यूशन बढ़ा रहे हैं और उससे अल्टीमेटली आपको ही नुकसान होने वाला है. Then it also provides the advisory function. Advisory in a sense, they will be giving you the consultancy. They will be providing you the different kind of segments कि अगर आप नया बिजनेस करना, इनफैक्ट इनके पास ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट है, इनके पास इन्होंने इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर्स ओपन कर रखे हुए हैं जहां जाके आप अपने प्रोजेक्ट्स को स्टार्ट कर सकते हो. और एक बार आपका प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट और ग्रो हो जाता है, देन यू कैन हैव योर ओन यूनिट्स एंड प्लांट्स एटसेट्रा. So SIDBI also works as advisor and mentor for MSMEs. It helps MSMEs in expanding marketing channels for the products both in domestic as well as international markets. जो मैंने कहा कि they carry out the exhibitions in which you can exhibit your product, and by that way you will be able to market your products at the large scale level. It also initiates steps for modernization and technological upgradation of current units. Then it is a service, it provides the services in different form to the MSMEs. जो मैं पहले आपको कह रहा था कि CGT, MSC, मुद्रा, स्मेरा, अलग अलग तरह से ये सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड की जाती है. The very first in that is SIDBI Venture Capital Limited. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of SIDBI which was set up in July of 1999 in providing venture capital to emerging sectors such as life sciences, biotechnology, pharmaceutical, इंजीनियरिंग एंड इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी. सर इसमें कोई सीए को इंक्लूड क्यों नहीं करता है, सीए टेक्नोलॉजी और समथिंग लाइक दैट? माइंड वेल, ये जितने भी फंडिंग्स और सपोर्ट हैं, ये दिलवाने वाला बंदा कौन है? दैट इज ओनली अ प्रोफेशनल अकाउंटेंट, दैट इज अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, राइट? तो ये जो भी सर्विसेज हम लोग सीख रहे हैं ना, ये आगे चल के इसका फायदा लेना है हमको, आगे चल के इसका बेनिफिट हमको हमारे क्लाइंट्स को दिलवाना है. दिलवाओगे ना तुम लोग कि सारा पैसा घर ले जाओगे? Now what happens is that startup India kind of एक प्रोजेक्ट आया था. That startup India project was what? कि जो भी स्टार्टअप्स है एंड जो भी स्ट्रॉन्ग स्टार्टअप्स हैं उनको सही तरह का सपोर्ट मिलना जरूरी है. एंड फॉर गेटिंग दैट राइट काइंड ऑफ सपोर्ट यू नीड टू हैव अ सेपरेट इंस्टीट्यूशन, क्योंकि SIDBI alone cannot carry out all the activities. इसीलिए उन्होंने अपने अपने इंडस्ट्रीज को सेगमेंटाइज किया हुआ है, एंड इन दोज रिस्पेक्टिव सेगमेंट्स द एक्टिविटीज आर कैरिड आउट बाय द डिफरेंट पीपल. Then the second one, Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, CGTMSE. Now what is this CGTMSE? अब मेरे जैसे बंदा जो नया नया है, मार्केट में नया है वह, if that's the kind of thing, people don't believe in them and they don't give the funds to them. तो इसलिए गवर्नमेंट ने क्या कहा, हम लोग गारंटी देते हैं, आप इनको पैसा दो, इनसे कोई सिक्योरिटी लेने की जरूरत नहीं है, हम गारंटी देते हैं, अगर इसने पैसा नहीं दिया तो आप हमसे पैसा ले लेना. So it is a trust which to implement the credit guarantee scheme through which credit facilities are extended without third party guarantee on collateral security by eligible lending banks or financial institutions. ये बहुत ज्यादा प्रचलित तरीका है आज की तारीख में फॉर फंडिंग द स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज. स्मॉल एंड मीडियम एंटरप्राइज रेटिंग एजेंसी ऑफ इंडिया लिमिटेड, स्मेरा, इसमें जैसे सिबिल आपका एक क्रेडिट स्कोर तय करता है, वैसे ही स्मेरा एमएसएमई का क्रेडिट स्कोर तय करता है कि ये किस किस लेवल की कंपनी है, इसका रिस्क क्या लेवल का है, इसको किस तरह का फंडिंग होना चाहिए, वेदर दैट फंडिंग इज रीजनेबल और नॉट, दैट ऑल थिंग इज कवर्ड बाय स्मेरा. स्मेरा was set up by Sidby Dunn and Bradstreet Information Services India Limited and several public and private and foreign sector banks as an MSME dedicated third party rating agency. जैसे सिबिल कहा मैंने, क्रिसिल is an organization of rating agencies, CARE is an organization of rating agency. उसी तरह से स्मेरा is the rating agency for MSME to provide comprehensive, transparent and reliable ratings and risk profiling. कि ये जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिसमें लोग पैसा लगाने वाले हैं, whether this is worth of investing company, whether this company is having any kind of base behind it or not, that all thing is done by Spera. India SME Technology Services Limited, this is basically for the purpose of providing you the top level kind of coverage, a platform where MSMEs can tap opportunities at global level for acquisition of new and emerging green technologies or establish the business collaborations. Rating agency means what? तुम मेरे पास अब नए बंदे आए, अब तुमको मैंने पैसा देना चाहिए या नहीं, ये तय करने के लिए मेरे पास कोई ना कोई मापदंड होना चाहिए. Only your financials cannot tell me that you are good or bad. तो मैं दुनिया भर से सर्वे करने के बजाय, एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जो जाके सर्वे करके आती है और चेक करती है कि आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की मार्केट में हैसियत क्या है. वो चेक करेंगे आपके फिनेंसेस, वो चेक करेंगे आपका मैनेजमेंट स्ट्रक्चर, वो आपका एम्प्लॉय कल्चर चेक करेंगे, आप किस तरह के मार्केट में हो, आपका प्रोडक्ट क्या है, उसका लॉन्ग टर्म इफेक्ट क्या है, और उस बेसिस पे वो आपको एक रेटिंग देते हैं. That rating can be A plus, B plus, whatsoever rating that they do. And उस बेसिस पे, उस रेटिंग के, उस रेटिंग जो मुझे रेटिंग दिया गया, उसके बेसिस पे मुझे बैंक्स जज करेंगे, फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस जज करेंगे, right, whether I'm good or bad to be invested in. That is what the work of the rating agencies is. Then India SME Asset Reconstruction Company, ISARC. Now ISARC is basically a company which is involved into the revolving of the sector of the businesses which have duped, जो डूब गए हैं, which have become non performing assets. अब बैंक ने तुमको पैसा दिया, बैंक ने फंडिंग किया तुमको, तुमने बैंक का पैसा डुबा दिया. अब बैंक क्या करेगी, बैंक वो वाला एनपीए उठा के आईएसआर को दे देगी, जो एमएसएमई सेक्टर का एनपीए है. एनपीए इज नॉन परफॉर्मिंग असेट, द एडवांस, द लोन विच इज गिवन टू अ पर्सन विच इज नॉट बीन रीपेड ऑन टाइम और आफ्टर अ पर्टिकुलर फॉलो अप. तो बैंक वो जो लोन है वो उठा के आईएसआर को ट्रांसफर करेगी, आईएसआर इसके अगेंस्ट बैंक को कमीशन चार्ज करेगी, एंड आईएसआर विल डू द फॉलो अप ऑफ माइन. जिसने पैसा नहीं दिया बैंक को, आईएसआर मेरा फॉलो अप करेगा और मुझसे पैसा रिकवर करने की कोशिश करेगा बाय डिफरेंट वेज. समटाइम्स दे विल वे ऑफ माय इंटरेस्ट, समटाइम्स दे विल से चलो तुम एक काम करो, आधा लोन का पैसा दे दो और सेटल करो. सो दैट इज बेसिकली अ सेटलमेंट एजेंसी, राइट. and resolve them through its innovative mechanism with the special focus on NPAs of MSME sector. And the last part into the services is Mudra, that is Micro Units Development and Refinance Agency, that is called as Mudra Finance, for funding the unfunded micro enterprises in the country. This is basically being brought by the government of Modi government under Mudra. There are so many small organizations which are getting the funding and they are just trying to grow ahead. Achievement of national goals. National goals in a sense, SIDBI's initiative help in poverty alleviation and employment generation through financing MSMEs. क्योंकि मैंने कहा MSMEs basically are the people who are getting self-employed. MSMEs are the people who are creating a competitive environment, and for that purpose, they need to be funded reasonably, they need to be funded properly, and for this purpose, the government and the SIDBI kind of organizations are working day in and day out. It provides finance to industry in semi-urban areas to create more employment opportunities, which which reduces the migration of population to urban areas. लोग अपने गांव छोड़ के शहरों में आके बसने की कोशिश करते हैं, क्यों? तो they want to have the growth, they want to have the increased income. अब अगर उनको वहीं उन्हीं की जगह पे काम मिलना चालू हो जाएगा, तो they will be having lesser expenses and they will be able to carry out the activities. Is the point right? I'll just stop by here, and in tomorrow's session at 9:15 we'll be continuing with SIDBI and NABARD. That's it for the day. Thank you very much.